Hey everybody, what is going on? We are back with the SRT. I'm Juan, joined alongside as always by Ryan, Keith, and back once again we got Chris McNulty, the cousin of the Worm Machine, right here in Byte That. How you doing, man? Great to see you again.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me, guys.
I see it's a heavier episode, and that's because we got a little bit of gold, and that's also because the topic that we're going to talk about is a little bit controversial because we all love NXT, right?
To death.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right now we have, just within the past while, we have Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, we have Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, all these guys that for many years have, this independent fame are in NXT. But then it begs the question, what about the guys like, the Bull Dempseys, the CJ Parkers, the Blake and Murphys? Those guys are involved in the roster, but it seems like these bigger names that keep getting brought up are sort of taking over the spot. I mean, Kevin Owens in 2 months became NXT champion. So is it a situation that is happening, or am I just picturing things and I'm just paranoid?
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of these, top indie guys coming in and really becoming the main event scene of NXT. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for the other guys as well, because these guys are more experienced and they're helping NXT really get noticed. They're really putting them on the map. So they're really kind of helping carry the show. And it also kind of shows that Triple H, he's not afraid to, push guys that aren't exactly guys he made, whereas a lot of people talk about how Vince, he wants his own guys at the top, the guys that he built. And I think Triple H is just showing that, if a guy's good, he's good, and we're going to put him on the show.
I think it's easier to put those guys at the top of the show as well, just for the fact of they've been doing their craft all over the world for so long. It's easier. You don't need to teach them the little things that you'd have to teach a guy that just started out in the performance center.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The whole fact that Triple H is bringing up some of these guys and just letting them run with it, it's because they have that skill factor. I think it's somewhat of a risk, but obviously they know what they're doing to figure out which guys have those hard things to break from their previous training. But it's, in a way, Triple H is giving back to where he came from and where some of the roster has come from, instead of being afraid of it and being like Vince and just trying to make his own men.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because a lot of fans keep bringing up, the territories are dead. They're long gone. And even though I guess the territorial thing may be dead, but we still have Ring of Honor. We have Lucha Underground, PWG, all these companies, we got IWGP, all these places with well-recognized talent. It's not just WWE. So it's actually nice to see that you do have an opportunity of not just having to go in WWE and start from scratch, but you can have this fame. And of course, you don't go to the main roster right away now, but you go to NXT, you have this following, and even though your name gets changed, people still identify you. So Sami Zayn still gets the Olay chant. So, we've brought up some positive things, but I want to sort of, bring this down to a depressive level. Is there any negative implication that this could have for NXT as a whole? Because for context, let's remember NXT at the end of the day, as far as it's pitched to us, the fans, is a performance center. It's a training to go to the big roster. So obviously we're seeing guys that, may be there for a couple of years, but guys like Adam Rose, you can be there, gimmick gets changed, and bam, main roster, regardless of he's successful or not.
I think for some people, it might slow down the process a little bit, but I don't necessarily see that as a negative. Because at the end of the day, all these guys are going to go up to the big roster, and then that spot's going to need to get filled in NXT. So that's when those guys, it's their time to shine. And if they've been improving and improving, then the cycle repeats itself with different names.
I think it just sets the bar higher. Yes, we got indie guys coming in that are, have more experience, and they're going to leapfrog over some of these like homegrown talents. But it's really just keeping the bar high. It means you have to be that much better. And yeah, it may take you longer to get called up, but that just means that the people who get called up are going to be more and more ready for the main roster.
See, I think the main roster, what a lot of people forget is, yeah, some of these guys go in there, and it's how well the fans take to you and how well your wrestling is and you pop, depending on your gimmick. And the same goes with NXT, is it gives you, yeah, you get these guys that have kind of been here a bit, but their skill level and they're still not getting over. So you're showing, in a sense, these new guys just getting fresh new pop factors, which helps reinvigorate some of these other gimmicks that aren't doing as well.
Yeah, it's like when the performance center was brought up, a lot of the questions that people were asking was, then everybody's going to get trained the exact same way. Isn't that a bad thing? Because all of the wrestlers say that, it's best to travel around the world, gain that experience. And now you do, because yeah, you get all these guys that come in, and at the end of the day, they got to collaborate. It's not about who wins or loses. It's about what really the storytelling, everything that the WWE really tries to do. So with the exception of maybe their process is slowed down a little bit in the way that you don't just get bumped up to the main roster, is there any other negative implication?
Don't really think so.
It's kind of hard to think
No,
of.
I actually do see a negative implication of what's going on in NXT is, yeah, you got these guys that are going up, but the big negative I'm seeing is they're two different animals, NXT and the main WWE roster. Two very different animals, two different controlling, two creative teams that are way different. And the fact is, once they do go up, all that hard work, all that nice pushing, all the matches that he did, now they get dumbed down because somebody doesn't know how to write them. Even though it's the same company, I feel that what's happening is it's the old regime versus the upcoming regime, which is what Triple H is even though he's been in there for a while, he's showing what he's capable of, but the problem is what's left. I think it's people holding on to things and doing things the old way because they're afraid of doing something new. Granted, that could be the shareholders also.
Yeah, I think what you brought up is a scary situation because in the podcast we brought up Breaking Bad a lot. Or picture any TV show. They have a set of writers. They have a set story. They know what they're working on. But NXT has its own writers and WWE does. So you can take somebody like Kevin Owens, whose storyline in NXT is very much self-aware. I grew up wrestling with Sami Zayn. We were like brothers. But then whenever we hear about NXT in the main roster, it's like, oh yeah, it's the kiddies. It's like it's our children that at some point are gonna grow up. And then what happens to all of that? Like all these storylines that we have in NXT going on. It seems like a lot of that can easily get thrown out the window. They got to start from scratch, and although at the same time they have to, because otherwise they grow old quickly. It kind of sucks. But focusing onto positive things now, let's bring up the smile. So we brought up experience. These guys have experience that is all over the place. But what else? What else can really get a benefit out of NXT from these guys going into the company?
Well, just think about the fact that they're there training with all these other people, so they might get these experiences and maybe like training sessions that they might not have if they were never in the WWE. So really, even though some of the talent doesn't have that experience of traveling around the world, they can train with somebody like a Finn Balor, and then they can learn from him in that way.
Oh, something I forgot, that obviously this goes week to week, but not every big independent guy, my championship just fell, is a success in NXT. I mean, when Hideo Itami, the man was built by Hulk Hogan, he was promoted in Japan, signed over there, came over here, the hype train was off the hook. Oh, the guy that, the GTS, the knee that Dean O'Brien uses, has his NXT debut, but people didn't really click. And, the weeks went by and didn't click. Triple H admitted it was a rough test. So is NXT not just developmental territory for new guys, but a way to sort of see, do you have what it takes to really run in the WWE? Because maybe your fame that's out there has nothing to do with what we want to do here.
Well, it's definitely, like we said, it's kind of like a risk-free training ground where, guys like, Hideo Itami can actually, they have time and the pressure's not on them as much to kind of get acclimated to the style. I mean, some guys come in and immediately they get it, but Itami's a guy who it hasn't all clicked immediately. But the great thing about NXT is, he has that time. It's not like he's on Raw and if he doesn't get it right soon, that's it. His push is done. So, I mean, luckily, that's the positive of NXT is it can be a great show, but it also has that flexibility of just being a place where people can really hone their craft and get ready for the main roster.
So any last comments about whether it's good or it's bad?
I think it's actually really, it's a mixed bag as anything is when you're doing something like this. Having the availability to not just bring these guys up and put them into the main roster, which helps make something a bit stagnant, especially if we're doing 3-hour Raws. Because at some point it gets too much wrestling. But obviously it's nice because not everybody's seen these talents. Not everybody has the network, which they're showcased on. Everybody's got YouTube, but not everybody looks it up. Also, I think it's good for them just to have that consistent flow. Like we said, it's about the training, and they don't normally get that. We've seen guys that WWE's just plucked from developmental and not known that is a good thing, just because they got the size and the look.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot of cool stuff. NXT is the opportunity in the network for really getting eyeballs on the show, getting eyeballs on these guys that, Hideo Itami when he was Kenta, and that dog that's, just does not stop barking. I want to bring up basically what we can fully agree while he continues to bark. Will you please stop? Why it's bad. It slows down the process of multiple guys because you got to go through the feeding system. Number 2, WWE and NXT are treated as two different animals. Different writers, different style, different wrestling, limitations, everything. Number 3, pressure on the top indie guys going in because you have this fame. Everybody can look at you on YouTube, online, and go, you're not the same guy you were 2-3 years ago. Why it's good? Experience. From the guys going in and that mixture of WWE grown talent and worldwide talent. You get eyeballs, giving back to the territories, bringing that back in a way. And not everybody has seen these guys once again. So what do you think about the top indie guys taking over NXT? Is it good? Is it bad? Why? Let us know in the comment section. Remember to hit that subscribe button and check out the podcast, which is available
on Tuesday.
Tuesday!
That's actually what the dog's saying.
You know what? Okay, maybe he's a fan. So I apologize, dog. Well, yeah, we'll be back with many more videos right here on the channel that hopefully doesn't involve him barking so dang much. I love you, dog, but come on. Thanks for watching.